press and the public have been duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. First order of business is the election of chair and vice chair, and at this time, I'll take any nominations for the office of chair. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Katie Meyer for chair.
Are there any other nominations? There being none, all those in favor of Councilmember Myers as chair, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, Chair, you'll take it up from here and take nominations for the office of Vice Chair.
Nominations for vice chair. I'll nominate Scott Pierce.
I'll second that.
Any other nominations?
Any other nominations? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Are you not voting?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
All right. Moving on to citizens' comments. I don't believe we have any.
No, ma'am.
Approval of the previous meeting minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Can I ask a question about that? How do we approve if Blair and I, if we weren't at the meeting, or how do we go about that? Or should we just go ahead and approve?
I think you can go ahead and approve
Okay.
it. I've read them. I didn't see any issues with them. I understand you were not at the meeting, but, I think we can go back and confirm watching the
Okay.
video. So
All right.
there's no issue with you all voting to approve.
Great, okay.
And I think if anybody had an issue, we
Yep.
heard it by now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, in the future, any discrepancies or any changes, just let the clerk know, and she'll make the adjustments.
so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, old business. Discussion of parking reconfiguration layout options for the intercoastal side of the marina parking. That's page 4 in the packet. And this is J.
This is Jay.
You may put it up.
And so this kind of goes along with new business B. So if we could,
Amy.
am I right on that? Because this includes the parking if we fill the ditch. Or, sorry, not fill, if we enclose the ditch.
Yes, so this is, the city, the staff, and the committee has been working with the marina tenants for quite a while now in trying to develop a more efficient layout for the parking area that is north of the boat ramp at the marina along the intercoastal. After the marina operations tenant signed a new lease with the city and made some amendments to it, the marina operator abandoned any rights to use, to manage, and operate that lot, and those rights came to the city. The city does have a lease with the marina restaurant that gives them the right to use this lot as a shared parking lot. And last summer, in an effort to try to establish a manageable operation for the parking layout, we entered into a temporary MOU with the restaurant where those spots were used, were shared between residents of the island and the customers of the marina restaurant. That MOU is no longer in place, therefore, this is, I guess, part of an effort to establish a better system for both the residents and the restaurant. We have been working with Matt Klein for quite some time now on multiple iterations, and we've had multiple discussions with this committee and the tenants about what are the needs for parking, whether it's vehicular parking and boat trailer parking. And this is the latest plan. As the chairwoman Myers indicated, we are starting a project. Actually, they've already mobilized to pipe the ditch on Waterway between the intersection at Waterway and the end of the of the street. And we have an option that's in front of you all to extend that pipe all the way to the head wall, which would be the end of the ditch. Having that opportunity will allow us to change the layout of that parking lot on the corner where currently is used for employee parking for the restaurant, and give us a little bit more space to add more parking spaces and reconfigure it in a way that the restaurant will have their own dedicated parking. The city would have its own dedicated parking adjacent to the public dock. And back to the ultimate goal of this whole process is to eliminate the shared component of that middle lot that seems to create a lot of angst and concerns and issues in how it's being shared. This plan was developed by my client recently. We've shared it with the restaurant folks to get their feedback. We have not yet received it, but essentially, it shows, okay, let me do one thing at a time. Okay, why is this not? Okay, all right. Okay, we can all see it?
Yes.
So this layout includes 10 boat trailer parking spaces, opposite side of the marina operations trailer parking spaces adjacent to the boat ramp. It includes about 16, I'm sorry, no, more than 16. It assumes covering the entire ditch, which reflects from the beginning of that layout, about 12 parking spaces along 41st. You can see right here, 12 parking spaces there.
Is that property right there, is that currently part of the quote marina property? Or
No,
is it
ma'am.
it's just ordinary city property?
So that is part of the road right-of-way.
Okay.
Then,
It's city,
yes, the end of 41st Avenue was deeded to the city by SCDOT. So
we don't
from,
have to worry about them in this.
that's right, it's city road.
Correct.
So 12 parking spaces there, and then 31 past what would be used for the dumpster enclosure. Right now, you can see that dumpster is situated roughly around here. So by piping the entire ditch, just between from the entrance of the marina to the end of the road and to the end of the ditch, we would be adding 31 plus 12, 53 parking spaces. I'm sorry, 43 parking
And
spaces.
getting that dumpster out of the way, so to speak.
Correct. So this layout includes all of those parking spaces along the public right-of-way. It also includes 16 parking spaces. We wanted to maintain the amount of resident-only parking spaces that we currently have at the marina. As you can see, right along the bulkhead area, this area would be used for the green space, park type of environment that would be connected to the new public dock.
Is that how the new public dock is gonna land, or is?
Yes,
that the
ma'am.
old version?
Yes,
That
ma'am.
is that is the old version in terms of width.
Oh,
The new version comes to about this point.
That's what I
So,
thought.
so this limit is about the same, but it actually gets widened.
So it will actually, it'll be a little bit more, it won't look like where the ADA little path is, it'll be less awkward looking.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We were permitted and we're constructing a 16-foot wide pier.
Yeah, that shows.
But the
old width.
limits would, they would be towards the ditch side, essentially. Douglas, do you have, I know we've gone through so many iterations, do you have the count of the number of parking spaces that would be for the restaurant, dedicated restaurant? in this plan?
I don't.
Okay.
I can get 'em.
Where is the line, where will the line be between city and restaurant?
So this does not show that. I think for purposes of our discussion, we anticipated, I believe, this entire area being the city with the addition of these 10 trailer parking spaces.
Right. So those 9 and 9 in the middle there would be just those, just the 9, those are 9s, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct.
Just those little 9s next to each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Those would be also restaurant.
Yes.
So that's
So-
where the current resident parking is now.
Yes.
Yes, if you, right now, the existing 16 spaces are here. Right about here, and then we have about 4 on this end. So we can add the little number, the circled numbers that are included here to have an understanding of the total count that would be exclusive for the restaurant. Katie, Chairwoman Myers, you may remember that when we started working with the restaurant, one of the main things that they requested for a new plan to have was the ability to stack vehicles
Right.
without impacting the overall layout. So this plan takes that into consideration by allowing this area to be basically closed off if they want to, and still have all the perimeter parking. But I think one of the benefits of one of the uses for the employee lot today is that they are able to stack vehicles if they're valeting or for their employees. So they use more space than what is delineated as parking spaces because they do that. So this plan, that was something that they really wanted to maintain in any new parking layout, so this plan does that.
Yeah, and one concern I remember they had too was turnaround. And I see, if you look on the top right corner, like where the little blue path is,
Here,
they've got that, is it a refrigerator or is it there's a permanent structure. It's like very faintly, I think, written there, but there's parking spots everywhere it is. I would wanna double check by current configuration, what's there, if they'd have enough space for the trucks to get through. But other than that, I think it looks great. I mean, and I feel like that's probably a fairly minor thing that could be, a couple little things could be moved around if that's.
and another thing I did want to note, the original plan assumed the same width for the green space to run all the way from the top left corner of the marina and the boardwalk along the intercoastal, all the way to the restaurant. So all this, they had concerns about how that essentially eliminates parking spaces for them. So this plan essentially thins out what the green space would look like on their side. There is still some green space there.
Is it a walking strip, more or less? Yeah.
I would,
It's a strip next to the boardwalk.
It's-
Yeah, it'd
so
be kind of a planting strip next
so
to
the boardwalk would still connect the entire, that entire side, and there would be a continuation of the greenery, I think, that would look nice, but I did want to note that that is a change that they also requested. As you can imagine, as you continue to add on to that green space, it impacts the spaces that that my client was able to accommodate down here.
So if I look at that, if the green space were expanded, it looks like there's a 17 count that would probably be eliminated or
It might be
impacted
the-
somehow.
It might be the bottom.
15
the
bottom.
Oh, the bottom,
15.
15 bottom, I
Somewhere in
see.
there.
Some,
Because it'd
yeah.
it'd push it all, okay.
It would push it down and, that line mirrors their existing leased footprint on their parking lot. You can see here, there's a pad, the electrical panel is here. And it maintains this, good Lord, what is all this blue? it maintains the line and the boat staging area that is on the north side on the boat ramp that a lot of people use when they're launching. We didn't want, it can't be more narrow than that.
It's 111 by my count for the restaurant.
Not counting the ability to stack, how many
Correct.
more parking
Correct.
vehicles they can accommodate here. This plan does not include any dedicated golf cart parking.
Right, and I feel like I remember we talked about that those are just kind of unnecessary, because golf carts are gonna park wherever they can fit. I think that was how he explained it.
Yeah, I think I've understood that they will just kind of fill in some spaces, but also any of those white spaces, they just kind of will
Right,
stack in there if there's not curbing and planting especially.
right.
And again,
So just
this
have
is
those as just kind of flat.
Right.
open areas.
correct.
Fill them in.
People will park their golf carts
Yeah.
there.
But if it is important that we have some dedicated parking for golf carts, something could be done on this area. I mean, this is conceptual at this point. There's just an opportunity. If we hear and understand from folks that they really want to have a dedicated area, we can have it. The marina, I know this
And
is
also maybe-
outside of the marina lease, but we know that the marina operations has significant amount of golf cart parking in front of the store. It is heavily used, but we could mirror something like that on the north
Well,
end if we wanted to.
It might end up, that area that I was talking about where the, structures are and the turnaround,
Mm-hmm.
they may end up needing to narrow some of those, so that, maybe you turn a couple of those into golf cart parking, and that makes it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the golf cart parking spot's like half or a quarter the size of an actual car parking?
I think it's a quarter.
A
I think
quarter.
you can really, if
Squeeze
you're
in
tight,
four.
you can almost get 4 in.
So net, this separates city and restaurant, addresses the trailer parking, adds 43 net total with the coverage of the drainage,
Mm-hmm.
and gets us direct access to the green space and the dock that,
Yes. One thing the downside, I would say, and I think the beauty that we've seen in the use of the shared parking spaces is, a dual use of a space that may not be used as, one way in the evenings and during the day for trailer parking. So I think that there will be a net loss essentially of parking because of the separation.
you lose the load balance effect of the daytime.
Correct,
correct.
correct. But this just clears out any issue with how a space needs to be shared. Is it 50-50? Is it 60-40? It just needs to be available. So those are all questions that we've been grappling with and have been challenged with, and what essentially spurred this idea of trying to separate it. This plan does not clearly separate the city lot from the restaurant lot, as you can see. There is a drive aisle here that would be shared
So
with the
there's not an
restaurant.
envisioned hard stop anymore.
Correct. And one of the plans that I think we looked at had essentially a separate entrance for the city lot and a separate entrance for the marina, for the restaurant. But I think some of that starts impacting how to maximize the space for parking spaces. So that, I would say that may be a downside on this plan, that, there's no clear delineation of what the city marina, city parking area is. But nothing that couldn't be,
Yeah,
with proper signage, I guess, could be addressed.
Has there been a discussion about who's paying for all this?
No, not yet.
My only comment would be the boat trailer parking on the restaurant side, instead of having
These here?
instead of stopping or having that little, at the top, that little area, so that you couldn't drive through.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that could easily be doubled at night
Yeah,
for parking, and you could put 2 cars in each, because you could drive through.
that's right. We actually have talked about that space continuing to be kind of Desiree's point about the nice aspect of trailers need it in the morning and cars in the restaurant business needs it at night. That could be a position where those 10 are still continue to be shared. You know, it's been a little bit sticky, but that is a benefit of this plan is potentially those 10 could be a flexible use.
I think the concern with that, of what we've kind of heard from residents is, you've taken, for example, how this lot, the current share lot operated last summer, where we agreed for trailers to be able to park in that area throughout the day, but after 3 o'clock, they would become, as trailers started leaving those spaces, they would become available for vehicles. We thought that we were gonna see a lot of activity of boat trailers in the morning. You know, we have a camera, so we've been clearly monitoring it, and we see people coming in at noon, 1 o'clock. So not as early as we thought. So those spaces sometimes are encumbered for longer than we anticipated. And I think people wanted to maintain or keep the ability to come in later if they wanted to, without feeling like, oh, in the afternoon, we'll completely be covered by vehicles, which we know there will be a demand for that, but still have residents have the ability, if they want to go for an evening sunset, you know, boat stroll, that they would find a space for that. So I think that is that's what protects maybe the exclusivity of boat trailer parking spaces, to allow for that. Does that happen all the time? Probably not. You know, well, it's mostly in the summer afternoons and summer weekends. But when people want to do it, residents want to find a spot. So that would be the upside. May not be fully maximized year-round, but I think residents do like the ability of find a spot, not really rely on the other ones that are under the marina operator.
And it's very management intensive.
That's right.
When you get into like, you pretty much, we had an attendant, we had a person there kind of actively managing that, where if it's not shared, it kind of is self-managed. So it does make it more complex.
And I think that one big game changer of piping the ditch, it's all the parking that we are able to add along the right-of-way. And that is significant, because we're counting 43, but this drawing does not include the remaining part of that ditch all the way to Waterway. There's a section in front of the fire station that we wouldn't allow any parking, just as it is right now. But there is, I think, about 20 more spaces that could be accommodated there. So, and those are vehicles that will benefit the restaurant, benefit the marina operations. So I think, you know, when we look at the total number of parking spaces that this plan yields for the restaurant, you know, they'll have access and benefit from all that parking along the road right-of-way as well. May not be as convenient for a customer, but if they're doing valet or for their employees, it's not really that far. Yeah. One other thing different, I think I just wanted to quickly note, is that this plan has one handicap parking space on what would be the city portion. Right now, we have 2. So that may be something that we can ask Matt to revise. And
Not a second one right next to it? Or that's, shaded area is the walkway?
correct, the shaded area is
Okay.
sort of where they would be landing
Okay.
and exiting their car.
We're probably gonna need to do 2.
Mm-hmm.
Can they be just right next to each other?
They typically would
The
be.
typical, yeah.
Would share a blue space between the 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it'll take up 3.
Right, And then the green space, who's maintaining that? Is the city gonna maintain it all the way across so that it's contiguous and, you know what I'm saying?
I think we would, if the green space that is adjacent to what would be the restaurant's parking leased area, that we would not maintain that. That would be up to them. We wouldn't maintain something that's under somebody else's lease. So once the lines are drawn, then, the city would maintain that. And this plan is, a parking layout plan. Once we establish how much space we'll have for the green space,
And we can
we'll,
get into the details.
yeah, we did include a resident kayak storage. It's something that's been talked about, but, the landscaping folks would pretty that up.
Okay.
Are the next steps to get with the restaurant folks and get them to buy up on all this? Or-
We've already shared this with them
Just waiting
earlier
for their
this week.
feedback?
We're waiting for their feedback. Yes, sir.
So do we need to, are we making any sort of decision on this, or is this just for discussion?
This is for discussion. I think, we would need to know if the restaurant would agree to a plan like this before I think the committee should take any action.
Okay.
And then I think the conversation will turn to, paying for this,
Reconfiguration?
the new configuration. I think it definitely should be a cost share because, they're getting a significant amount of area added to their lease premises. So my thoughts would be that each entity would pay for the cost of their area, of what would be their exclusive use area.
And is there talk about resurfacing, regrading, doing the whole?
We have not yet discussed what kind of materials to use. No. We've been focusing a lot on the layout.
On the layout, okay, good,
Step one. All right, well,
thank you.
Is this something that any other, we talked about adding handicap parking spaces, maybe allowing the boat trailer area or parking spaces to, okay, so.
I mean, I think at the very least, for the boat trailer part, with that, just that little white line not be like a curb, because that way it can be changed in, if we decide that we wanna make it be flexible, then we could make it flexible, as long as there's not any sort of hard structure there, we can change it around.
Yeah, I think it was the restaurant, and I don't know if it was a similar version, but had the idea of there being,
A gate.
yeah, kind of a rope that would stop people from coming in the backside until the designated hour, and then it gets dropped.
So not a real hard structure,
Not
kind
a
of a
hard
flexible,
structure,
but a
but-
flexible structure.
Yeah, kind of would keep cars from coming in that way.
And
in
I
the
guess
morning.
if they wanted to, they could still do it here,
Yeah, you could leave like 5 of them or something.
right? Because
Mhm.
it wouldn't impact this flow.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would just say, to look at that top right corner and what's actually there. And then add
Oh, here.
the
Oh.
handicap spot.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I think it's looks good.
Okay.
J, I guess it'll be
J
K.
point one,
I guess
maybe?
it'll be K.
Be K.
K.
K will come.
K will come.
At least we're not in a double letter.
Yeah.
Let's stay in the lower end of the alphabet.
I think we're right there, aren't we, with K? We're approaching the middle of the alphabet.
All right, moving on to new business. So this is kind of on to a very similar topic, which if we can get number 5, old business situated, then this becomes less of an issue. But for the time being, the temporary license agreement between the city, and this is just to give us the mobility for the ditch project. So
Yes, ma'am.
so
That's right. So what this temporary license agreement would allow is for the city and the restaurant to agree on a temporary staging area that we need to accommodate the contractor that's working on 41st Drainage project. Right now, they have used the portion right behind the dumpster that is not encumbered by any of the leases. It's public space for their staging of the pipes. I don't know if y'all have been there in the past couple of days. All the pipe, not all, some of the pipe has already been delivered. But the first step in that project is to build the head wall. This is not to scale, so don't, you know. But the head wall is in this area here. So there needs to be some access for that heavy machinery and the contractors to begin that work. And the most efficient way to do that is for them to have access to what is now the employee lot. So this essentially authorizes the city to do that. The city would be abating the rent of the parking lot, which is about $1,200 a month for 2 months, which is what we think we needed. But allowing them to pick up the area that we would be using, not entirely, but allowing them to use some of the resident-only parking spaces for the next 2 months to accommodate employees, in addition to the remaining of the area that is not in red, that they would still have access to. The agreement, it's in your packet. It establishes insurance requirements. The city would be protecting their employees that would be parking adjacent to a construction area. And the contractor would be required, which already is, to return that area to pre-construction conditions.
Has this been vetted by the restaurant? Was this ready to sign?
They have signed it. That agreement that's in your packet was developed by the city's real estate attorney that wrote the restaurant lease.
So what are we, that it's already signed and in place, because this is just information?
This is information. It is a temporary agreement. I do want council to buy into it, rather than sort of us doing it. I see no issue with it. It's 2 months, and the rent abatement amount, it's not significant. And the reality is, the city is using that area for the city's project.
And the city hasn't signed it yet.
We have not signed it.
We developed it, the restaurant tenant has signed it, but we have not yet.
Do we have to, the city council have to vote on it?
I don't think so.
I wouldn't think so.
I don't think so.
I think, yeah, the dollars are de minimis, and this will be more of an administrative, yeah.
Yeah, just for transparency purposes,
Yeah.
And also,
it's on your agenda.
also for transparency, this area is gonna be used for the city dock work also.
That's correct.
That's correct. That's another project.
Going on concurrently,
Yes, ma'am.
and so the residents-only parking is going to go away while that's being done, correct?
That's correct.
That's correct. Our goal,
People to come down there when it's a construction site.
that's correct. We would like, and I think we could maintain the 4 spaces that are in this area that are resident only. So there'd still be 4 parking spaces. That'll be our goal, to at least maintain up to 4. The public dock project has not yet started construction. We're still working through the details on the contract. So that timing delay would allow the drainage project to start first, and hopefully they're gonna be moving down the ditch by the time that the other contractor comes in to start the demolition and construction of the public dock.
So they'll be there, but they'll be farther away from,
Yeah, we think there'll be some overlap, but hopefully,
not stepping on each other's toes.
yes. But in the we know that will be a challenge. It's a very limited site, and we have a lot going on in that corner. So this allows us the flexibility to use that area, and our contractors to use it.
Sounds good to me.
All right?
Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so then discussion and consideration of the Bastion Group's proposal estimate got a new one today, so it is, about $20,000 less, than the other was. So this would be as we've been talking earlier, closing over the ditch, all the way to Waterway.
Yes, so,
So so you will not have an open ditch from Waterway all the way to the intercoastal,
That's correct.
Waterway Boulevard to the intercoastal.
since we're all very techy now, using my computer to show things. I know,
quite
am
good
I-
at it.
Am I blowing y'all's mind
Yeah,
by
a little
doing
bit.
all
I
this?
like it when you draw.
Yeah.
Should be doing CAD.
No, no CAD. I know my limits, Scott. All right, so the current project for the drainage includes piping from this intersection here.
Oh, look at this.
Okay, so the,
Sorry, spoke too soon.
did we just jinx it?
Uh,
Okay, so from this intersection of Waterway and 41st, all the way down, up to here, where the road curves into the boat ramp, that's already included in the project. It's funded. I'll buy a grant from the South Carolina Office of Resilience. We're very grateful for that. This change order would extend the pipe from where it currently would end all the way to the head wall.
About how far is that? Is that
Is it like
100 feet?
20 feet, 70? 170 feet.
170, oh, okay, all right.
So that's,
More than it looks like.
Yeah,
this is, and we talked about it in the layout, by closing this would allow us to utilize some of that area for parking, but this change order essentially covers the difference of piping this section here. Why is this not working now? It's okay,
So I see
right
like,
here.
I see a considerable amount of greenery right there. What's happening? Is that all going away anyway with the ditch project that we're doing?
Yes. We are going to be directing them to try to avoid any, if they don't need to remove any of the shrubbery that's on the far end of the ditch to not to, but I think to be conservative, we should plan or think that they will.
In order to make that ditch more functional.
Correct.
The whole purpose of this is to try to ease the flooding on 41st and Forest Trail in that area, right?
Correct.
So this is gonna be one of those ditches that has the flappers,
Yes, ma'am.
so hopefully it will still ebb and flow.
No, it'll be a one-way,
It'll be a one-way.
so it'll go from two ways now to just one way out.
But less water, less flow
Correct.
into the island.
Right.
Well, and this is a critical infrastructure that we have, Fire Station 2, that, as we all know, we have to shut down whenever there's a storm or we anticipate king tides because it floods the street. That's part of the reason I think our grant application was successful, because it ties into a critical piece of infrastructure for us. And we all see every time it floods, it's, pretty dramatic. I think that there is a desire, Douglas, if you want to make a note, to ask the contractor to give us a breakdown of the 478.
yeah, they've listed the components. It would just be helpful, I think, to see kind of what
The
the,
cost
what
of
the
each
breakdown,
component.
yeah, just to give a little bit more detail on what's in the 478.
And for the record, as Chairwoman Myers indicated earlier, the change order in the packet was for 494,000. That has been revised to 478. There was a credit applied for some riprap that they have to, that's already included in their current contract. So that's roughly the $20,000 credit. The city, a few years ago, when we worked on designing and permitting the outfall project, the outfall project was inclusive of 30, 36, and 41st. The city issued a bond for to pay that for that project of $3,500,000. Because this 41st Avenue in its entirety, with the exception of this change order, is being paid by a grant, we have about $600,000 of bond proceeds left remaining from that. It is advised that the city use that money for the project that we issued the bond for. If we use it for the requirement is to use it for drainage, but we still have we have money left out of those bond proceeds that could be used to cover the cost of this pipe. I do think that if the city's going to be spending $500,000 to pipe it, ideally, we have a parking layout that's agreed to by both parties, and we have access to that area. Right now, if we pipe it, this entire area is under lease by the restaurant for their employee lot.
This doesn't, that's why, in the beginning, I was saying, you have to look at number 5 and 6B together, because it doesn't make sense without coming up with fixing the parking configuration. The two have to, in my opinion, the two have to go together, or there's not a point in doing it. But I think I think if we get those two to go together, I think it makes a lot of sense. I've been told that the restaurant has paid an additional roughly $100,000 to the city this year because of their profits. So, you know, if we look at that, now that if we get a vibrant, successful marina that can actually bring some money into the city, that makes it easy. To me, it makes it easier to justify spending money on the area if we're actually going to get something back for it.
Well, the more parking spaces, the more people that
More
would be
business,
visiting
yeah.
the both operations.
My only comment is, in looking at the drawings, there's a stainless steel sluice gate proposed on the waterway side, which I assume is just those sluice gate, it's gonna be bars down so that people can't get in there.
Well, it's actually their method to, if they have to take those valves out, they will screw down a gate that will stop the flow in those boxes altogether, so they could be dry.
Well, my point in all this is, little boys are going to walk up and down inside those pipes, and it would be nice to have some way to stop that, some type of a gate.
Oh, so
children-
so there is a trash rack, a slightly different thing, which I do
We just don't
think,
want children in there, because children will go in there, I mean, that's just.
trash
it's a
rack
great
should
place.
keep them
Yeah,
out.
there's a trash rack that's associated
I might
with
have done
all
that as a
the
child, and I'm not
asphalt
gonna do that.
projects, so that should keep them out. I don't even know where, the valves are in the last structure, so the valves are huge rubber membrane, so you really
Can't get through that end.
can't go
But,
through.
my point is, at both ends of this open pipe, we probably need to make sure that children can't get in there, and if they can't get in because of the rubber valve.
Yeah, I think one end will have a trash rack.
Right, yeah.
That's a good point. We'll verify. I know it's got something that keeps trash out of it.
Kids inside the pipe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
48. It's
great fun.
all the time.
See,
4 feet tall.
Oh, yeah.
Short folks could fit in there.
I don't have children, so I don't know what crazy stuff that
They do
kids
the
do.
damnedest things, those kids.
I would have not.
Well,
Not
Wouldn't
that
have
would
been top
happen.
on your list of things to
No.
do? Yeah.
No. Things to worry about? No.
Amazing.
That's right. So if this is something that the committee would like to recommend to council, as I said earlier, the contractor has already mobilized. They're starting work on the head wall. It would be beneficial for them to, as they work on the head wall, go down and start installing pipe connected to the head wall all the way down a waterway
Do it all at
without.
once.
I'll do it all at once. I think it would be helpful for this schedule. So we would need to make a decision pretty quick on whether or not we're doing it, so we can notify the contractor. Additional pipe will need to be ordered. So just a lot of implications, and this is a project that we have been working pretty, we're very intentional about trying to get this done as much as we can before the season, because it's a massive project, and we're trying to minimize the interruption to the marina. And this will be the first season, frankly, with a new marina operator, the boat club, restaurant, everything in full swing. So
Sold.
it'll be very busy.
Yeah. Let me-
Make a motion to approve this, to go to full council, contingent upon reviewing the breakdown that's coming.
And also, I think concurrently, we want to try to work on the, getting the parking configuration and the lease lines drawn.
Yes.
Second?
Us, yeah.
So just out of curiosity, or I guess as a point of discussion, we do have these kind of, so this change order is at a kind of critical timing part of the project. They're in place that I think they will need to have a definitive up or down at the council meeting, just from a pure timing standpoint. Are we thinking that we would, in order to give that thumbs up at council, you would need to have an agreement on the parking layout prior to doing that? And if so, I think we would need, as Desiree's mentioned, we've been talking about it for, I think, a year or so. So it hasn't, up to this point, it hasn't moved terribly quickly. So are we gonna tie the two together? And if so, I think that we would need to kind of have special meetings, do whatever to move heaven and earth between now and the council meeting to do that.
Try to do that. I mean, we should at least have the process of an agreement. I mean,
But this is needed regardless, and parking is needed regardless. And if this particular parking plan falls apart, there will be another one,
that's true.
and another one, and another one.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree with, yeah.
I'm fairly confident that we will get something that will make it so that the city has the use of that space.
If the question
So we
is, do we
can
need to tie the two,
uncouple
I think the question is no, or the answer is probably no. We don't
Okay.
need to make one contingent, and
But it
I
would be
agree
nice
with
to
Blair,
have
yeah. That done.
Very
Yeah,
close
okay.
to-
As long as the two aren't like tied together.
Contingent, yeah.
I think we're good.
Okay.
But to your point, should we have, I mean, are we at the point now of having a meeting to discuss with the restaurant parking altogether?
Yeah,
With line and the
Yeah,
restaurant?
I think it would be advisable that we set up special meeting. The restaurant has a copy of the parking layout. It's not, it's not the first time we've been,
Let's
like
try
we
it.
said, we're in J or K.
I do think it's top of their mind at this point. They recognize it's a very fluid, but kind of there's pressure on to get it worked out. But I just don't know that it would naturally happen by your upcoming council meeting. So,
But it'd be nice to walk into the council meeting saying we're close.
Right.
yeah, and I think we'll have that.
And we have
Well, and it's good.
handshake deal, if nothing else.
It's good that the committee, not formally, but sort of accepts this layout as a good option that yields, I think, what everybody's goal was from the beginning. And that is good information to discuss more in detail with the restaurant. And, I think the execution of that plan may not be available for this season. Maybe in some capacity, but clearly, if we are paying for a resurfacing of the lot, that construction will take time, and we have to bid that out. But it could, there could be some short-term option that allows us to at least accommodate the drive aisles and the entrances in a way that makes sense, but that's all contingent upon the ditch being piped. Once the ditch is piped is when we can shift some of the driving lanes.
And once
So
this
that can't
project,
happen until that.
sorry.
No.
Once this project starts, what's the duration and when do we expect the completion? Is this a 2-month project, 5-month project?
The drainage
Yeah,
project,
with the research, with that whole coverage and everything.
I
I know we've got
believe
the
there
lot for
are-
2 months, but
their original substantial completion date was August.
Yeah, I will, as most things, it's always very fluid. This, literally fluid.
Donnie, can you tell them?
They were testing,
Thank
they
you.
were in that ditch yesterday testing the soil underneath where that box goes, where that wall goes. There's a little bit of an issue with the murkiness, the amount of mud in that soil. So they are juggling a modification to the design to deal with that.
so third quarter is a target. Let's just keep it broad, maybe,
So
yeah.
we thought they were gonna start that wall as soon as, kind of like this week. They're saying this week that based on what they saw yesterday, they're gonna need to adjust the design a bit. So it's sounding like that's probably gonna have a week or two delay. So we're already, kind of, as these things do, there's another hurdle put in front of us that we didn't know about. So I think now they're probably gonna be starting in that corner 2 weeks from now, where we thought it was gonna be this week, which probably has the effect of kind of rolling all of it back a bit. But they were gonna do this end of the system first intentionally to kind of get out of the way, and then, but I think they could be up around the waterway intersection, well into the spring. So we're trying to keep it at a minimum, but it just, as things happen, hurdles are getting put in place, slowing it down.
I'm sure all the rain we've been having isn't helping.
Yep, yeah, that
That's
that
another-
pushed back the testing that had to get done yesterday, because it was the first clear day, so it's a challenge.
So, yeah, I think if we're good with where we are, to try to set up a special meeting with, Klein and the restaurant, I don't know if we need Mr. Klein.
I think it would be
Sure.
helpful. You still
We
have a
need to
motion
vote,
on
yeah.
the table. Just
So,
FYI.
we have, so we're voting to approve this.
Blair made a motion to recommend to council approval of that change order. And it was contingent upon receiving some more detailed breakdown of the cost.
So I second that.
I think it was Scott, but.
That's okay, I already did. We'll second it again.
Okay, so now we just need to vote.
Yeah.
All in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
So we will have a meeting between now and the full council meeting, maybe?
On a special meeting, yes, so this will go to council tonight, just for the workshop for discussion, and then vote on the 23rd, and then we can schedule a special meeting with the restaurant and Mott to go over the layout.
Great.
We'll follow up on dates with you all.
All right, and then we have a discussion of policy initiatives and projects for the committee to pursue in 2024. Any projects, ideas, thoughts,
Can I,
concerns?
yeah, can I suggest, I wouldn't mind hearing from Donnie and Carrie anything that you'd like some help from the committee on any major projects that you see on the horizon coming, or what, maybe you'd like help from the committee to move some of your initiatives forward. Or I don't know if you've given any thought to that or not, but didn't mean to put you on the spot, but, oh, Donnie jumping around. Okay,
Oh, boy.
let's go through your list, Johnny.
You just,
Unleash.
Did I-
Are you
should I-
talking about infrastructure projects, or are you
Just,
talking about?
what's on your
assets?
mind, because we can come up with our list, but you're a lot closer to it.
Let me
And-
just say that I don't have any infrastructure projects, and I would prefer to have a
Donnie,
discussion with,
Just speak closer to the mic, Amy.
I would prefer to have discussions with the administrator during this next budget, which is 3:30
Yes.
next Thursday, about some assets and forward thinking, and then let the administrator bring it to council or this committee.
We're starting the budget process
Okay,
this week.
that works too, yeah.
So we start with the capital plan, so we'll be talking about capital needs and any initiatives. But we certainly want to hear from you all about anything that we have not yet discussed, that's not envisioned in the 10-year capital plan, that we would want to explore further. And that's part of the council discussion of priorities and initiatives for the
Yeah,
year.
it's kind of strategic, long-term, and then
Yes.
there's some tactical that you'd need some help with this year. That, yeah, it'd be great to hear your list too.
And just, just talking about the public works, one of the things that we have been working at the staff level is looking at a long-term plan and what assets we need to be able to make sure that we meet service demand. And a challenge that I think we are not having today, but will probably be faced very soon, is we currently use a traditional method for garbage collection with the folks in the back who get out of the truck, pull the cans out and empty them. One of the things that we're very, very high level and kind of informally at our level looking at is in the event that our current temp agency that provides us with the temp workers to do that work, right now they are the only ones in the area that provide for that kind of temp work. We've been getting information from the municipal association about, more safer practices, and we're trying to be prepared in the event that that type of work is no longer available to us, if it's too expensive to ensure that kind of work. So looking at what options do we have to be able to be prepared in the event of that happening. So that's really a high-level kind of initiative that we've been looking at internally for the past several months. Just what would the city operation look like if we no longer have the ability to use temp
So it'd be
workers to do
more
that
the
work.
automated trash pickup kind of
Yes,
assets, yeah.
Like the recycling.
Yeah.
correct. And it's not a perfect solution, and there will be, it may not work. We're just looking at it.
As for debris removal, it's been on people's minds a lot. Any need for additional capacity? I just hear, when a storm's coming especially, I hear people complaining that they've got debris sitting in their front yard and it hasn't been picked up. And it's, they're supposed to be a certain day that it's picked up, but it's sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, and
So by ordinance, it's one day, Wednesday. Everybody here knows that 7 miles cannot be picked up in one day. Since I've been director, we've picked up debris 5 days a week. Some folks think that we're still supposed to pick it all up on Wednesday. That's not gonna happen on this 7 Mile beach.
is that then something that we need to change? I mean, do we need to say that we'll do certain, because, some people actually do put their stuff out there on Tuesday in anticipation that it's going to be picked up on Wednesday, and then they're mad that it wasn't picked up, so.
To do it by ordinance, you'd have to double the staff to get it all picked up on Wednesday.
No, I'm saying, what if we said that this area, just like with the trash and everything else, that this certain area gets on Tuesday and then another gets on Thursday and another
She's-
Friday?
She's saying change the ordinance
Certainly,
to-
there could be some revisions to reflect what's happening. I can tell you what's happening is, starting on Mondays, we start at Breach Inlet. Most of the residents up there know that their debris is going to be picked up on Mondays. Most of your long-term residents know when that truck's coming through. But Mondays, we go as far as we can. Tuesdays, we continue. Wednesdays, we always start in Wild Dunes, and we complete Wild Dunes, and we come out and start headed back our way from 57th up by Blair's house on Thursdays and Fridays, year-round, whether we're on twice-a-week garbage or not. That's kind of how it's efficient and has been working for probably 18, 19 years.
One thing we are doing this year differently is we have a third-party contractor that we call in to help assist our current yard debris operations. We have been doing it after the storm. They're working the end of this week, starting today or yesterday.
They were out there at
Yesterday.
7:30 this morning.
Oh, this morning.
They were cleaning Oceanside of Palm. Then I sent them to or schedule them to the opposite side of Commons Court and Wild Dunes, where there's probably from here to Palm Boulevard, a pile. It's gonna fill their truck up twice, so I'm trying to get the most efficient use out of that big apparatus. My guys, my operations are stopped at 22nd yesterday. They were doing Grand Pavilion 2, Ocean Point this morning to get a pile of debris, construction debris at Beechwood East. Once that's completed, then they're coming out and they'll continue at 23rd and get to about 32nd today.
So we are supplementing and assisting our current operations with a third party that we call in when needed. We know in advance what are the weeks of the year that usually puts us behind on yard debris. So we've already scheduled for this year for them to come in during those weeks to support our operation. It's when we start going into twice a week, between the summer when we do twice a week garbage is when we have historically had delays and start backing up our schedule. So in preparation of that, we're already scheduling this contractor to come in and do the yard debris for those weeks so that we're not always catching up and we're caught up with our schedule and we can maximize our crews with, and supplement it with those. I think looking at the ordinance and whether or not there are changes there, just for managing expectations, I think it's important to look at. I think Donnie likes to have the flexibility of when in the afternoons, if they've completed their garbage route and they have a few hours that they can collect yard debris, that they can still do that.
Right.
Without being constrained with a specific date, just like we are with garbage. I think the yard debris allows us that flexibility, but still,
Maybe we just need to change the ordinance so that it says that they'll start at Breach Inlet on Monday and
work their way through.
work their way through as fast as they can and
Yeah, I can tell you.
Kind of
the
put
month-
an as-needed clause. kind of
Well,
thing
the
there.
month of December, in yard debris, we were way down. Part of it is timing because of the holidays, but yard debris, we're at 106 tons for the month of December. That's extremely abnormal, and I can tell you why. It's because we were, for the first time in my tenure, were caught up where I had flatbeds and cats chasing to try to fill a truck. We were sometimes servicing twice a week, many sections of the island where they were serviced on Monday. On Thursday, we were back up there again, and they were just chasing, trying to fill trucks to get them to the dump. So we were caught way up, and you can see it even after the storms. There's bags are out there now, but by Friday, the island should be clean.
all right, sounds good.
Carrie? Ask for the moon.
Ask for the moon? No. Yeah, I would, same as Donnie, kind of like to talk about stuff in-house first. But I will say the building is aging. I think it is 20 years old officially this year. So there probably will be some maintenance stuff that you haven't seen in the past. So not fun stuff, unfortunately. But, just things to keep the building in as good a shape as it has been. So.
One initiative for the rec department that I think we've talked about with this committee, or the recreation committee at the time, is the expansion of the cardio room. That's always been talked about. It's in the master plan, it's in the capital plan. So we can, when we look at the 10-year capital plan, get your thoughts on timing and concept, if it still fits what I think the community would like to see today. And then the other big piece, Carrie, is the sort of the entry, the entrance to the building and covering
Covered-
that.
covered walkway
The
is in
covered
the-
walkway, also in the master plan. I don't know, this predates me. I don't know why it wasn't done at the time the building was constructed. I think just cutting costs.
Just cutting cost.
But that would be something, some sense of arrival when you walk under, there's nothing covered. It's just you walk and get to the building. So that's just another big piece of the master plan that I would like to see. Just, I think it would elevate the building. And in terms of the grounds, there's nothing else sort of scheduled in the 10-year capital plan at this point. We have talked about whether or not the needs of the community and the new, athletic culture yields any changes to the existing offerings around the grounds? And is there ways to maximize some spaces that may not be fully utilized today? And what options do we have? I know we have two, we have a softball
And a baseball
and a
field.
baseball field, and does that give us the opportunity to reconfigure it in a way that maximizes what I think the offerings that the community wants to see? So that's an option that we've discussed as well.
How about, in addition to the cardio room, I hear a lot of people asking for more workout, weights that in
So-
one of those rooms in the back.
So the cardio room, what we call cardio room, would have, in the plan that was developed, I think it's in FY '27 maybe,
Yeah,
but
4 years.
it would have that resistance type equipment, maybe not free weights or, barbell, but machines, like universal machines where you could get. Correct, yes. Kind of based more on like if you've ever seen the senior center, the fitness facility or that fitness room that they have in there. So still cardio based, but Nautilus type
Yeah.
machines.
And where would that be?
It would be, when we planned it out, it would be on that far end of the building on the backside jetting out towards the dog park. So that room would be across from the fitness room that we have now, the group fitness room. So they would kind of be tied in together.
You would have rooms on each side of that
On
big
each.
hallway.
So can I just go back, looking at the softball, baseball fields, were you kind of implying potentially consolidating so that all of a sudden you've got additional footprint on the space then it's a,
Correct.
It's a complete
Yeah, some of
open
our
palette
adult
there,
sports that we've had in the past just haven't taken off.
Yep.
The
opens up a
island has
lot of-
changed. They might take off again as population has changed. But seeing if we could utilize one field for potentially both youth and adult and have it universal, just like we do everything else. If you've seen us during soccer season, we have soccer fields all over the place.
yeah.
Same thing for baseball. We do little kids baseball on the soccer field. So just kind of looking at everything in what we do and really being able to multi-purpose the space.
So when do you have, your budget discussions are starting up right now, maybe the
Mm,
next
yeah,
meeting?
next
Yeah, we
week,
can
next.
maybe regroup on the list or whatever.
Yeah, so we have our budget calendar would have us presenting our 10-year capital plan and these big initiatives to the committee at your meeting in February.
Yeah. Seems like the big projects are the Marina Public Dock, the drainage extension, this building is
Yes.
coming up.
When is that?
Those are some pretty big
There,
ticket
I
items.
think that's enough.
When is because we are waiting on this building, there's a meeting coming up with the contractor?
Yeah, we had a meeting with them yesterday,
Maybe 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Oh, okay.
Sometime this week. And we had it was a preliminary meeting and looking at the locations that that we have identified as potential uses for consolidation of the city hall building. So we talked at a very high level, what can we do, where can we maximize or move this city hall, whether to the lots that we have across the street, across from the Public Works Department, and consolidate city hall with a public services component. The contractor also looked at potentials to relocate city hall next to the public safety building, adjacent or within the small parking lot. That yields some challenges just because of parking. And then looking at if those options don't work for, various reasons, what we can do in this current footprint or this current area. Remind me next steps on that?
They're in addition to kind of the sites, they were also working on the massing of the building, so they're kind of talking to the departments and analyzing the sizes of like this building, the conference room, potentially a room for executive session, coming up with kind of the
programming.
size of the box that they think you need, and then they're gonna talk about where that box could fit realistically, and then ultimately create kind of a menu of pros and cons of, and I guess kind of on the low end would be trying to work within the confines of these four walls, what they could do, what the cost would be, what the pros and cons of that would be. And then I think kind of a middle of the road would be in addition to this building, if they can fit it in, that would be kind of a pro and con list, a price tag for you all to consider. And then it sounds like for the relocation of the building, the pricing is gonna be pretty similar regardless of site chosen. So there would be a pro and con list. I think the initial kind of discussion would be, do we even wanna go into that, given the cost and given the kind of high-level pro and con, do you wanna even consider that more? And if so, then they would really delve into the unique aspects of each of the three sites and the pros and cons there. So there's gonna be kind of a first pass at which path does the city really want to focus on in the initial analysis. And that'll be, I got the impression that was kind of a 2-week, 3-week turnaround from them. And then I think that would be probably a decision-making point for you all to look at the various pros and cons and costs of each path.
And when we're ready for that, we'll bring Trident and the architect to the meeting, and they can answer some programming questions or just specifics on site planning.
Yeah, I've got one additional topic I'm not sure if it fits here or not, and I don't know if it's been addressed or where it goes, but just road and signage maintenance. The roads are tired and the signage is a little bit tired, and I know that we'd have to work with DOT on that closely, which would be great. But, maybe that's something that the committee can at least have some conversation about at some point and then talk to the folks about it.
Yeah. One thing that, we would like to do this coming year is sort of an IOP branding opportunity. And I don't know if y'all have seen the street signs in Mount Pleasant include the logo, the new logo. So that it would be neat to, take that into consideration for a rehaul of all street signs and how much that would cost. And if we could include the city branding there, I think would be neat.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you can't see your own street sign. Especially at night, I think a lot of them have lost their reflective capabilities.
Faded.
Yeah, they're
Might
faded.
dovetail in nicely with what the conversations on Palm Boulevard are
Yes.
starting up.
Yeah.
I'll make a note of that.
Anything else? And then we have, next meeting date. Did we decide what,
Do we want to try to schedule something that
Sure.
I know that would work for all of you?
did we come up with a day?
We-
I think standings on Tuesday.
Yeah, standing, so Tuesday, first Tuesday of the month at 9 a.m. February 6th is the first Tuesday in February, and that day there is a hometown legislative action day with the Municipal Association of South Carolina. Some council members have signed up already. I need to go because I serve on the board for MASC. So maybe we want to reschedule that meeting for the second Tuesday, or we could do it on the 7th, the following day. Just what would work best for you all?
Thursday would be better for me if we,
Thursday, the 8th?
Or the following Tuesday?
The following Tuesday, we have jury trials. So I think that would be a challenge, and
Yeah, it's the 8th.
we can do the 8th at 9. That works. Do we want to talk about a special meeting next week with the restaurant?
Yes.
How about the 17th?
what day is that?
That is a Wednesday. Those are not good for you, I think.
Yeah, Wednesdays are probably not great for me.
Okay.
This is next week.
Yeah, Thursday would be okay if that.
How about Thursday, the 18th at 9? Oh, we have budget meetings that day that are not in my calendar.
I think it's at 9 o'clock.
That day? Yeah.
This Friday, anything?
No.
Friday, I'll be at a conference that day in Douglas too. How about with Thursday in the afternoon, we have admin at 4:30 on the 18th. How about 3? Would that work?
Thursday on the what day?
Thursday, the 18th at 3.
January.
What did I say?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, January.
Oh, Thursday of, yeah, that's fine.
a week from today.
Yep, that works.
Desiree,
Yes.
you have the Public Works.
What else do I have?
Meeting at 3:30 on next Thursday
What public, that's your budget meeting?
with Deborah.
Okay. Can we move it to
I mean, you
3:45?
don't have to be there.
We'll work on that. It's easier for us to, if we need to shift it a little bit, we can do that. So 3 on the 18th and 9 on the 8th for the regular meeting of February. All right, I'll send calendar invites to everyone.
And that, the one on the 18th, we're gonna try to have with the restaurant folks
Yes, ma'am.
and Klein. So
Yes, ma'am.
So that date
That they, if they are not available,
may or may not work. Should we come up with
an
a
alternate?
backup the following Thursday, or is that, then that's after the meeting?
That would be after the meeting, the council meeting, I think. How about Monday, the 22nd?
That could work for me.
So Blair, if, Councilmember Hahn, if the restaurant can't meet on the 18th, the second option would be the 22nd.
To get it in before the meeting on the 23rd.
Would that work for you? Is there a
23rd or 28th?
time?
Oh, is it the 23rd?
The way, the
The
full
council,
council is the 23rd?
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
We just have an extra Tuesday that month, this month.
Yeah, the 22nd's fine with me.
Morning, afternoon? I have a department
Later than 9 a.m.
later than 9. How about 1 o'clock?
Sounds good.
Okay. Did you write this down?
I have it in my calendar.
Okay. All right,
All right,
thank you.
and we'll go for further business, motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
That was like longer than